That is not a mother. That is a fat pig. Those words came out of her mouth in the middle of the banquet hall, right in front of 300 guests, in front of her family, in front of mine, in front of everyone. And for a second, everyone laughed, as if it were a joke, as if that humiliation was part of the show. But what came next, nobody saw coming. Not even me. My name is Catherine Reynolds. I am 60 years old. And this is the story of how the day that was supposed to be the happiest for my son turned into the day we learned who we really were and who would never be part of our family. It all started 8 months earlier. My son Michael met Tamara at an art gallery downtown. He came home that night with a light in his eyes that I had not seen in years. Mom, I met someone special. I was making dinner. I stopped. I wiped my hands on my apron and smiled. What is her name? Tamara. She is an interior designer. Mom, she is incredible. Michael was 34 years old. A successful architect, owner of his own firm, a good man who had focused so much on his career that love had taken a back seat until that moment. When will I meet her soon? You are going to love her. And I wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe that finally my son had found someone to build a life with. But there are things a mother feels, intuitions that have no logical explanation. And from the first moment I heard that name, something inside me tensed up. I met Tamara 2 weeks later. Michael brought her to dinner on a Sunday. She arrived with a bouquet of calla lilies, my favorite flowers. Michael must have told her, and a smile that was perfect, too perfect. Mrs. Reynolds, it is an honor to meet you. Michael has told me so much about you. She was beautiful. Wavy brown hair, green eyes, impeccable white dress, perfect makeup. Everything about her was calculated. The honor is mine, Tamara. Please come in. Dinner went normally. She asked me questions. She flattered me. She helped me serve. She said all the right things at all the right moments. This roast is delicious, Mrs. Reynolds. Would you teach me the recipe? Your house is beautiful. You can tell the love with which you care for it. Michael is so lucky to have a mother like you. And yet there was something in her eyes when she looked around, when she saw the furniture, the photographs, the emerald ring I wore on my finger, the one Robert gave me on our 25th anniversary. She did not look with admiration. She looked with inventory, like someone calculating prices. The following months were a whirlwind. Tamara became part of our Sundays. She came to dinner. She helped me in the kitchen. She seemed genuinely interested in getting to know me, but there were moments, small moments that unsettled me. Like that time I asked her about her family. What do your parents do, dear? Her smile tensed for just a second. My dad had a construction business. Now he is retired. My mom is a homemaker. And do you have siblings? A younger brother. He is still studying. Where do they live? In the suburbs. It is a simple house, but comfortable. And the conversation stayed there, without details, without depth, as if she had something to hide. 4 months after meeting her, Michael came to my house on a Thursday afternoon. He looked nervous, excited. Mom, I have to tell you something. What happened, son? I asked Tamara to marry me. She said yes. My heart stopped for a second. So soon, Mom, I am 34 years old. I know what I want. I know son. It is just that 4 months is a short time to know someone. It is enough when you know she is the one. I wanted to tell him so many things. I wanted to warn him. I wanted to scream at him. Something is not right, but I could not. Because he was my son. Because he was happy. Because I did not want to be that mother who ruins her son's dreams over unfounded fears. So I smiled. If you are happy, I am happy. He hugged me. Thanks, Mom. I knew you would understand. But inside, I felt a huge weight on my chest. The wedding preparations began immediately, and that was where I started to see the cracks. Tamara wanted everything big, everything expensive, everything perfect. The wedding will be at the Grand Manor Estate, 300 guests, live orchestra, 7-course dinner. I listened, I nodded, but inside, I calculated. That cost a fortune, more than Michael could pay without going into debt. Honey, is your family going to help with the expenses? She left the coffee cup on the table. Her smile froze. My family does not have many resources, Mrs. Reynolds, but Michael insists on it being an unforgettable wedding. I understand. I just worry about my son going into debt. Do not worry. Everything is under control. But her tone said, do not meddle in what does not concern you. 1 month before the wedding, I received a call from the bank. Mrs. Catherine Reynolds, yes. Who is speaking? I am calling from First National Bank. Your name appears as a guarantor on a business credit application. The world stopped. Excuse me, I have not signed anything. I understand. It is likely there is an error. I recommend you come to the branch. I went the next day. They showed me the documents. My signature, my identification, everything forged. Someone had tried to use my name to ask for a loan of $50,000 in the name of a company called Tamara Designs, LLC. I felt the floor open up beneath my feet. I did not say anything to Michael. Not yet. I hired a private investigator, a discreet gentleman, professional. He handed me a report 3 days later. What I read froze my blood. Tamara Solis, 30 years old, no verifiable professional degree, family with a history of bank fraud. Father lost his business in 2018 after scamming investors, mother with debts of over $100,000. Tamara linked romantically with 3 men in the last 5 years. 2 of them filed fraud complaints after the breakup. There were photos, documents, testimonies. My son was not in love. He was being hunted. I tried to talk to Michael 2 weeks before the wedding. Son, I need to talk to you. It is important. What is wrong, Mom? It is about Tamara. His expression changed immediately. Mom, do not start. Michael, please just listen to me. No, I am not going to listen to criticisms about the woman I love 2 weeks before my wedding. They are not criticisms. They are facts. There are things you need to know. The only thing I need to know is if you are going to be there on my wedding day. With a smile, supporting me. Can you do that, Silence? Of course I can. Then I do not want to talk about this anymore. And he left, leaving me with the report in my hands, with the truth that nobody wanted to hear. The night before the wedding, I could not sleep. I sat in the living room, with Robert's ring between my fingers, looking at the report I already knew by heart. Robert. I whispered in the dark, I do not know what to do. If I tell him the truth, he is going to hate me. If I do not tell him, he is going to marry someone who will destroy him. The silence was my only answer. But in that moment, I made a decision. I was going to go to that wedding. I was going to be there for my son. And if something happened, if Tamara showed her true face, I would be there to hold him. What I did not know was that I would not have to wait long, because the next day, in the middle of that perfect reception, with 300 witnesses, everything was going to explode in the most brutal way possible, and my son was going to become the bravest man I have ever known. There are days one keeps in the heart like photographs, days when everything was simple, when life had a calm rhythm, like the smell of fresh coffee on Sunday mornings. That was my life before Tamara, before the wedding, before the fear, before knowing the world could be so cruel. Michael and I had our sacred routines. Every Sunday, without fail, he arrived at 10 in the morning with donuts from the bakery, the one that has existed since before he was born. Mom, I brought your favorites, he would say, leaving the paper bag on the kitchen table, glazed donuts, apple fritters, cinnamon rolls that filled the house with their aroma. I prepared fresh brewed coffee. with a cinnamon stick, just like my grandmother taught me when I was a girl. The secret was in the time, letting it brew slowly, without rushing, so that all the flavors mixed. We sat in the garden, under the oak tree that Robert planted when we bought this house 30 years ago, a small sapling then. Now it is a huge tree that shades almost the entire patio. We talked about everything, about his architectural projects, about my friends from the book club, about the neighbor who always parked his car blocking the driveway, about the lady on the corner who fed 20 stray cats. Sometimes we did not talk about anything. We were just there, in that comfortable silence that only exists between people who love each other unconditionally. Those Sundays were my anchor, my certainty that although Robert was no longer here, I was not alone. Michael was born when I was 26. It was a complicated pregnancy. I spent the last 6 months on absolute bed rest. Robert stopped traveling for work. He turned down important projects just to stay with me. I am not going to lose you or him. He told me every night, caressing my belly while I cried out of frustration from not being able to do anything but lie down. When Michael was finally born after 18 hours of labor, Robert cried like a child. He is perfect, Catherine. He is perfect. And he was. 10 fingers on his hands, 10 fingers on his feet, huge dark brown eyes, a strong cry that filled the delivery room with life. Robert held him with as much care as if he were made of fine crystal. He sang him a song his grandfather sang to him, and from that moment they were inseparable. Michael grew up being a quiet child. He was not one to make noisy mischief. He did not break things. He did not fight with other children. He was observant, curious, the kind who stared at ants in the garden for hours trying to understand where they were going and why they always followed the same path. "Mom, do you think ants have family?" He asked me once with those huge eyes full of wonder. "Of course, my love, and they take care of each other, like us." He nodded satisfied and continued watching them with a concentration I admired. Robert always said Michael was going to be an architect. "This boy has an eye for space," he said proudly, showing any visitor the drawings our son made on sheets of paper that I kept religiously in a wooden box. Houses with gardens, buildings with huge windows, whole cities with perfectly traced streets. And Robert was right. Michael studied architecture at the State University. He graduated with honors. He worked at important firms for 5 years, learning from the best. And at 30 years old, he opened his own firm. "Mom, I signed the lease for the office. It is official. Reynolds Architects." I cried with happiness that day. Robert would have been so proud. When Robert died 8 years ago, I felt my life split in two. It was a massive heart attack, sudden. On a Tuesday morning, while we were eating breakfast together in the kitchen, he put his hand to his chest. He looked at me with those eyes that had seen me fall in love, get married, have a child, grow old by his side. "Catherine." He whispered, and he collapsed. I called the ambulance. I screamed. I cried. I gave him mouth to mouth while I waited for the paramedics to arrive. But it was too late. 40 years of marriage ended in an instant. The first months after his death were the darkest of my life. I do not know how I survived. I think I did not really. I think I just floated, like a ghost in my own house, surrounded by his things, by his absence, by his scent that was still on his pillow. It was Michael who saved me. He moved in with me for 3 months. He left his apartment, his life, his routine. He slept in his old room. He made me breakfast even though I did not want to eat. He forced me to go out for a walk even though I only wanted to stay in bed. "Mom, Dad would not want to see you like this. I do not know how to live without him, son. You do not have to know right now. You just have to breathe, one day at a time. I am going to help you." And he did, with infinite patience, with unconditional love, with that tenderness that only a son who deeply loves his mother can have. Little by little, the pain became less sharp, less constant, less unbearable. I learned to live with the memory of Robert instead of his absence. I learned to smile again, to find small moments of peace. I went back to the book club I had abandoned. I resumed my watercolor painting classes. I started taking care of the garden again, talking to the plants like Robert used to do, and Michael went back to his apartment. But he never stopped coming on Sundays. Never. It was our way of keeping Robert alive, of saying we are still a family. We are still here. That is why, when Michael met Tamara, I felt so many contradictory things. Joy. Because my son deserved to be loved. He deserved to have a partner. He deserved to build his own family, but also fear. Fear of losing him. Fear of stopping being his priority. Fear that someone else would occupy that place we had built together in these years of complicity. I know it sounds selfish. I know a good mother should want her son to fly, to have his life, not to depend on her, but after Robert Michael was all I had left. My only family, my only certainty, my only anchor in this world. I tried not to show that fear. I tried to be the perfect mother-in-law, the one who accepts, the one who supports, the one who does not give opinions. But inside, something unsettled me more and more. The first times Tamara came home, I really tried to give her the benefit of the doubt. She always arrived on time, always with some gift, flowers, wine, desserts from some expensive bakery downtown. Mrs. Reynolds, this is for you. Michael told me you love lemon pie. Your house is so beautiful you can tell you care for it with a lot of love. You have a lovely garden. Do you take care of it alone? The right words, the right tone, the right smile. Too right. Like someone who had rehearsed every phrase in front of a mirror. We cooked together on Sundays. I taught her to make my famous Sunday roast, the one Robert said was the best in the whole city, the one that took secret spices and 3 days of preparation. She took notes on her phone. She asked me questions. She seemed genuinely interested. And how long do you roast the vegetables until they release the aroma, dear? It is not a matter of exact time. It is a matter of smell, of intuition. Oh, I understand. But she did not understand, because cooking like love is not learned with recipes. It is learned with the heart. Michael watched us from the kitchen door with that huge smile I had not seen since he was a teenager. My two favorite women, he would say. And my heart filled and broke at the same time because I wanted to believe. I wanted it to work. But something inside me, something deep and instinctive screamed at me that something was not right. There were small moments, almost imperceptible. That confirmed that intuition. Like that afternoon when Tamara was left alone in the living room while I went to the kitchen for more coffee. When I returned, I found her in front of the bookshelf looking at the family photographs. There was nothing wrong with that. Any curious person would do the same. But the way she looked at them was not with affection. It was not with innocent curiosity. It was with calculation, as if she were taking inventory, evaluating, putting a price on each thing. "Everything okay, dear?" I asked, leaving the coffee pot on the table. She turned immediately with that perfect smile. "Yes, Mrs. Reynolds, I was just admiring your photos. You have a beautiful family." "Thank you. And yours, I would like to meet your parents." Her smile tensed. "Just a second." Almost imperceptible. "My family is small. We are very close, but we are private. We do not like socializing much, I understand. But surely they will want to meet Michael more formally. Right, of course. Soon, when the moment is right." But that moment never came. There was always an excuse. Her father was sick. Her mother was busy. Her brother had exams. As if keeping the families separated was part of a plan. Another time having dinner, the three of us at my house, Tamara mentioned a trip she wanted to take. "Michael, we should go to Europe for the honeymoon. Paris, Rome, Barcelona. It would be incredible." I saw my son's expression. Uncomfortable. "Love, we already talked about that. I do not have the budget for that right now. I thought we were going to the lake house." Tamara dropped her fork on the plate with a sharp clatter. Too loud. The lake house. Seriously? We are going to go to a place you can drive to any weekend. It is a beautiful place, Tamara, and it has a lot of meaning for me. My dad and my mom went there on their honeymoon. How cute. But I am not your mom. The silence was brutal. I lowered my gaze, pretending to concentrate on my plate. It was not my conversation. I should not give an opinion, but Michael looked at me seeking support. Mom, what do you think I swallowed hard? I chose my words carefully. I think what is important in a honeymoon is not the place, son. It is who you share it with. Your dad and I went to the lake, and they were the happiest days of my life. Not because it was Europe, but because we were together. Tamara looked at me with a smile that did not reach her eyes. Of course, Mrs. Reynolds. You are right. I suppose not all of us have the same expectations. The tone. That little poisoned thorn in every word. It was the first time I saw her without a mask, and I knew my intuition was not wrong. After that dinner, Michael stayed to help me wash the dishes. Tamara had left early with a headache. Son, are you sure about this? I asked him with the greatest care possible. About what, Mom? About the wedding. About her. He stopped washing. He looked at me with a mixture of confusion and annoyance. Do you not like her? It is not that. It is just that I feel you have different expectations, and I do not want you to pressure yourself to fulfill hers if they do not match yours. Mom, all couples have to negotiate. It is normal. I know. But marriage is not just negotiating. It is sharing values. It is wanting the same things deep down, and we want them. Are you sure? There was a long silence. Mom, I love her, and she loves me. Is that not enough? I wanted to say no. Love is not enough if there is no honesty, if there is no integrity. But I did not, because children need to learn their own lessons, even if it hurts to see them stumble. I am always going to be here for you, son, whatever happens. He hugged me. I know, Mom. Thanks. But inside, that little voice kept whispering. Something is wrong. Something is very wrong. The months passed. The wedding approached, and I tried to convince myself that I was being paranoid. Until that call came from the bank. Until I hired the investigator. Until I read that report that confirmed all my worst suspicions. And then I knew it was not paranoia. It was maternal instinct. That ancient voice that exists in all mothers. That silent alarm that activates when someone threatens our children. And Tamara was not only threatening my son, she was hunting him. The night before the wedding, I took a box out of my bedroom closet. It was a carved wooden box Robert gave me on our 10th anniversary. Inside, I kept my most precious things. Love letters, old photographs, the first drawing Michael made for me when he was 4, and the emerald ring Robert gave me on our 25th anniversary. I took it out. I put it on my finger. Robert. I whispered in the dark of my room. Something is going to happen tomorrow. I do not know what, but I feel everything is going to change. The emerald shone under the lamplight. Give me strength to do the right thing, to protect our son even if he does not understand why. The ring felt heavy on my finger, not because of the gold or the stones, but because of everything it represented. 40 years of love, of loyalty, of building a life together, and now I had to protect that legacy. Even if that meant facing the worst nightmare of any mother, watching your son marry the wrong person, and not being able to do anything to stop it. Or maybe I could do something. Maybe life was preparing me for a moment that had not yet arrived. A moment where I would have to choose between peace and truth. And I was always going to choose the truth, no matter the cost. The wedding day dawned with a clear sky, one of those perfect May days when the air still has the freshness of the early morning, and the sun illuminates everything with that golden light that makes even sad things seem beautiful. I woke up at 6 in the morning, not because I wanted to, but because I could not sleep more than 3 hours all night. Robert's ring was still on my finger. I had not taken it off since the night before. I needed it there like a talisman, like a promise that everything was going to turn out well, or at least that I was going to have the strength to face whatever came. I bathed slowly, let the hot water relax my tense muscles. I tried to empty my mind of all the dark thoughts that had haunted me for weeks. Maybe I am wrong. Maybe the report is wrong. Maybe Tamara really loves him. But I knew I was lying to myself. A mother always knows. I put on the navy blue dress I had custom made for the occasion. It was elegant but discreet. 3/4 sleeves, knee length, no plunging neckline, no excessive glitter. I did not want to outshine anyone. I just wanted to be there, be the mother my son needed me to be. I put on my makeup carefully. A little blush on the cheeks, black mascara, peach lipstick. Nothing exaggerated. I pulled my hair back in a low bun, like I have always worn it on important occasions. Some strands of gray mixed with dark brown. I did not bother to dye them. At my 60 years, gray hairs are medals of honor. When I saw myself in the mirror, I saw a woman trying to look calm, but my eyes betrayed me. I was afraid, and I did not know exactly of what. The religious ceremony would be at 4 in the afternoon at St. Augustine's Church, a beautiful 18th century church in the heart of the city. High ceilings with religious frescoes, stained glass windows that painted the floor with colors when the sun entered, carved wooden pews that had seen thousands of weddings, baptisms, funerals. Robert and I got married there 40 years ago, and now my son would get married at the same altar where I swore to love, honor, and respect the man of my life until death did us part. A circle closing, or maybe breaking. I arrived at the church at 2 in the afternoon. Too early, I know, but I needed that time, that space to breathe before everything started. The flowers were already placed, huge arrangements of white roses, lilies, gardenias, orchids, everything impeccable, everything expensive, everything chosen by Tamara with that precision that I now recognized as calculating. I sat in one of the back pews looking at the empty altar. I closed my eyes. I tried to pray, but the words did not come. There was only a knot in my throat, a weight in my chest, a growing certainty that something was going to go wrong. "Ma'am." I opened my eyes. An older woman was standing next to me. I did not know her. "Yes, are you coming to the wedding? I am the groom's mother." Her face lit up with a smile. "What a blessing, you must be very excited." I forced a smile. "Yes, very excited. Children are our greatest joy, right, although also our greatest pain." I looked at her surprised by the honesty of her words. "Do you have children?" 3. 2 men and a woman, all married now. And believe me, ma'am, every wedding was a hell of nerves. You never know if they chose well until it is too late. And did they choose well? She laughed sadly. 2 out of 3. Not bad, right? I did not know what to answer. She said goodbye with a pat on my shoulder and went to find her seat. And I stayed there thinking about her words. You never know if they chose well until it is too late. Was it already too late for Michael? At 3:30, the church began to fill up. I recognized many guests. Cousins of Michael I had not seen for years, friends from college, colleagues from his firm, neighbors from the old neighborhood, all well-dressed, all smiling, all oblivious to the storm I felt inside. And then they arrived. Tamara's parents. Ernest Solis was a man of about 65 years, thin to the point of looking sick, completely white hair, dark suit that had seen better days, tie poorly knotted. He walked with his head down, with slumped shoulders, with the posture of someone who has been defeated by life and no longer has the strength to pretend otherwise. Brenda Solis, his wife, was the complete opposite, a woman of about 60, dyed platinum blonde hair, excessive makeup, blue eyeshadow, orange blush, bright red lips, false eyelashes, long nails painted gold. She wore a gold dress, gold for a wedding, too tight, too short, too everything, jewelry on every finger, huge earrings that shone with every movement, a necklace of fake pearls that screamed, "I want you to think I am rich." She walked with her chin up, with a forced smile, with that attitude of someone desperate to impress. She saw me from afar and came straight towards me. Catherine. She exclaimed as if we were friends for life. She hugged me with too much force, with too much familiarity. She smelled of cheap perfume and desperation. What a wonderful day. Our children finally united. A family. I tried to smile. Yes, an important day. Doesn't Tamara look radiant? We spent a fortune on that dress, but it is worth it. You only get married once, right? Or twice? Or 3 times. I thought, remembering the report. Of course, I said without emotion. Brenda kept talking nonstop about the dress that cost $10,000, about the flowers she ordered from out of state, about the photographer who was the best in the city, about the honeymoon they should have in Europe because the lake is for poor people. Every word was a knife, not because it was offensive, but because it was revealing. This woman was not celebrating her daughter's love. She was celebrating the investment she had made, the product she had successfully placed on the market, and that product was Michael, my son. Well, Catherine, see you at the reception. Ernest and I are going to sit in the front. As parents of the bride, it corresponds to us to be in the first row, right? She walked away, strutting, leaving a trail of cheap perfume and falseness. Ernest, who had not said a single word, looked at me for a second, and in his eyes I saw something that froze my blood. Shame. He knew what his family was doing, and he did not have the courage to stop it. At 4 o'clock sharp, the ceremony began. The wedding march filled the church. Everyone stood up. Michael entered on the arm of his best man, his best friend from college. My son, my only son, in an impeccable black suit, white shirt, pearl gray tie hair perfectly combed back, shoes shining. He looked handsome, mature, happy. He walked down the center aisle with sure steps, nodding to the guests, smiling. When he passed by me, our gazes crossed, and for a second, only for a second, I saw something in his eyes. Doubt, fear, uncertainty. I do not know, but it was there. And then it disappeared. He continued walking to the altar. He stood in his place. He waited. The music changed. The traditional Wagner wedding march. And Tamara entered. I have to admit something, even if it hurts. She was beautiful. Her dress was a dream of French lace tight corset, with beadwork wide skirt, with a 10-foot train cathedral veil covering her face, and dragging on the floor hair loose in perfect waves, magazine makeup bouquet of white roses and peonies. She walked on the arm of her father, who looked about to cry, but they were not tears of emotion. They were tears of guilt. The guests whispered in admiration. The women looked at her with envy. The men with admiration. Nobody saw what I saw. Nobody noticed that her eyes did not look at Michael with love. They looked at him with triumph. Like a hunter who has just caught his prey. Like someone who has just won a prize. Like a woman who knew exactly what she had just achieved. She reached the altar. Ernest handed her hand to Michael. "Take care of her," he told him with a broken voice. Michael nodded without understanding the true meaning of those words. The priest began the ceremony. "Brothers and sisters, we are gathered here in the presence of God to unite Michael and Tamara in holy matrimony." The words sounded beautiful, sacred, eternal, but I could not concentrate because my mind was on that report. 2 fraud complaints family in bankruptcy pattern of relationships with wealthy men. If anyone has a reason why this marriage should not take place, speak now or forever hold your peace. The silence was absolute. Everyone waited. Nobody was going to speak, of course. That phrase is just an old formality, but I felt an almost irresistible impulse to stand up, to scream. Yes, I have a reason. This woman is a lie. She is using him. She is hunting my son. My mouth opened slightly. My hands clutched the pew. My heart beat so hard I thought everyone could hear it. But I did not do it, because I did not have physical proof there. I only had a report kept in my house. I only had my intuition, my fear. And if I spoke, Michael would hate me for the rest of his life. So I kept quiet, and the priest continued. Michael Reynolds, do you take Tamara Solis as your wife? Do you promise to love, honor, and respect her in sickness and in health, in wealth, and in poverty until death? Do you part? Michael looked at Tamara. Yes, I do. Tamara Solis. Do you take Michael Reynolds as your husband? Do you promise to love, honor, and respect him in sickness and in health, in wealth, and in poverty? Until death do you part? Tamara smiled that perfect smile I already knew so well. Yes, I do. Liar, I thought. By the power vested in me by the church, I declare you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride. Michael lifted Tamara's veil and kissed her. Everyone applauded. The music started. The church bells rang, and I remained seated with my hands clenched on my lap, feeling the weight of Robert's ring on my finger. Forgive me, love. I could not stop it. But something inside me whispered, it is not over yet. This is just beginning. The reception was at the Grand Manor Estate, a beautiful colonial place with huge gardens, full of jacaranda trees, stone fountains, corridors with stone arches, the kind of place that appears in luxury wedding magazines, the kind of place that costs a fortune. We arrived in a caravan from the church, a procession of cars honking, celebrating as if this were really a happy day. I drove my own car, driving slowly, trying to delay the inevitable, because I knew, I do not know how, but I knew that something was going to happen that night. I could feel it in the air, in my bones, in that maternal instinct that never fails. Something was going to break. When I arrived at the estate, the guests were already entering the main hall. It was exactly as Tamara had planned. Perfect. Round tables dressed in white linen tablecloths, centerpieces with white orchids, and floating candles in glass containers, chairs with ivory covers and satin bows, porcelain dishes with gold details, crystal glasses shining under the lights, a stage with professional sound equipment, a polished wood dance floor, hanging lights creating a fairy tale atmosphere. At the entrance, an arch of white flowers where the bride and groom would take photos with every guest. Everything was too much, too big, too expensive, too ostentatious. This was not a celebration of love. It was an exhibition of wealth, or rather, an illusion of wealth. Because I knew the truth. I knew that behind all that beauty, there were debts, there were lies. There was a calculated plan. I found my place at the main table. I was next to Michael, as appropriate, him to my right, Tamara to his right, and on the other side of Tamara, her parents, Brenda and Ernest. Michael gave me a kiss on the cheek when I sat down. "How are you, Mom, good son?" It was a beautiful ceremony. Yes, right, Tamara organized everything. It is incredible. I looked at her. She was talking to one of her bridesmaids, laughing, taking selfies, enjoying her moment of glory. She did not look at me once as if I did not exist, as if I were just another piece of furniture in her perfect decoration. "Son," I said in a low voice, "are you happy?" He looked at me surprised. "Of course, Mom." "Why do you ask? I just want to be sure this is what you really want." "Mom, there is no turning back now. We are already married." "There is always a turning back, son. If something is not right—" "Mom, please, not today. Today I just want to enjoy." I nodded. I said no more, but his answer left me thinking. There is no turning back now, as if marriage were a trap from which one cannot escape, as if he had already accepted his fate. Dinner began at 7 in the evening, 7 courses as Tamara had demanded. First course pumpkin cream with truffle oil. The waiters served with white gloves. Everything was theatrical, performative. Brenda, seated on the other side of the table, did not stop talking. Did you see the decoration? I helped choose everything. Tamara has very good taste, but she needed the experience of someone older. Nobody had asked her. But she kept talking. The orchids were my idea. We had them flown in. They cost a fortune, but it was worth it. Only the best for my daughter. Ernest ate in silence with his gaze down as if he wanted to disappear. I understood him. Second course, arugula salad with pear walnut and goat cheese. And the dress. Did you see the dress? Brenda continued. Spanish designer. We had it made to measure. $10,000 just for the dress. But my daughter deserves the best. $10,000. In a dress she would use only once, while her family, according to the report, owed more than $100,000 to various banks. The hypocrisy churned my stomach. Third course lobster ravioli with saffron sauce. Tamara finally spoke to me. Mrs. Reynolds, are you enjoying the dinner? Yes, everything is very delicious. I am glad. I wanted everything to be perfect. For Michael, for you, for everyone. She smiled. That perfect smile that made my hair stand on end. Thank you, dear. I am no longer just your daughter, Mrs. Reynolds. Now I am your family. Legally. Forever. The emphasis on legally was like a stab, like a reminder that she now had rights, access, power. Of course, I said, without emotion, and I hope we can have a close relationship, like mother and daughter. Because, well, my mom is wonderful, but it is always good to have more mother figures. Right, liar. She did not want a mother-daughter relationship. She wanted control. She wanted to manipulate me. She wanted to ensure I was not an obstacle in her plans. I would love that. I lied. Fourth course. Lemon sorbet to cleanse the palate. The guests chatted, laughed, toasted, took photos. Nobody noticed the tension at the main table. Nobody saw how Brenda looked at everything with calculating eyes, how she evaluated every detail, every person, every opportunity. Nobody saw how Ernest drank glass after glass of wine, trying to drown something that was killing him inside. Nobody saw how Tamara played her role of perfect bride, while her cold eyes evaluated her investment. And nobody saw how I squeezed Robert's ring on my finger, asking for strength to survive that night. Fifth course, beef Wellington with truffled mashed potatoes and asparagus. Between the fourth and fifth course, Brenda approached me. Catherine, dear, can we talk for a moment? Alone. I did not want to, but I could not refuse without making a scene. Sure. She led me to a corner of the garden away from the guests under a jacaranda tree whose violet flowers covered the ground. I want to talk to you about something important. She began with a false seriousness. What is it about your house? My heart skipped a beat. My house. Yes, your house in the city. It is beautiful big with a garden perfect for a family, and you are there alone, right? All that house just for you. It must be very lonely, very difficult to maintain. It is not difficult, and I do not feel lonely. Of course. But think about it, Catherine. Michael and Tamara are going to need a bigger house when they have children. Michael's apartment is small, only 2 bedrooms. It is not suitable for a family. Then they can buy a bigger house. Michael earns well. Yes, but why spend money on something new when you have a perfect house that you are not using fully? What are you suggesting exactly? Brenda smiled. That smile that seemed kind but was poisonous. That you could sell them your house at a good price, of course. Between family, something fair. And that way they would have a beautiful home, and you could move to something smaller, more manageable for a woman of your age. I stood in silence processing what I had just heard. This woman who I had just met less than 8 months ago was asking me to sell the house where I lived 40 years with my husband, where I raised my son, where I kept every memory of my life. My house is not for sale, I said with a firm voice. Catherine, be reasonable. It is too big for you, and Michael is your only son. Do you not want him to have the best? Michael has the best. He has his job. He has his ability. He has his freedom to buy what he needs with his own money, but family is family. One helps, one shares. Sharing is one thing. Giving away everything one has is another. Brenda narrowed her eyes. The kind mask began to fall. Do you know what your problem is, Catherine? What, that you cannot stand your son having a life of his own. You cannot stand that now Tamara is his priority. You are one of those possessive mothers who cannot let go. The words hit me like slaps. That is not true. Of course it is. From day one, you have been looking for defects in Tamara. You never accepted her. You never gave her a chance. And now that they are married, you keep looking for ways to sabotage their happiness. I am not sabotaging anything. I am just protecting my son. From what? From a woman who loves him, from a family that only wants the best for him, from a family of scammers. The words came out before I could stop them. The silence was brutal. Brenda looked at me with pure hate. What did you say? You heard me. Be very careful with what you say, Catherine. Defamation is a serious crime in this country. It is not defamation if it is true. True. What truth? Do you have proof of anything? Yes, I do. It was a mistake to say it. I knew it the moment the words left my mouth. Because Brenda smiled, not with fear, with satisfaction. Interesting. Very interesting. And does Michael know you have been investigating his wife? Does he know you hired private detectives? Does he know you have been violating his family's privacy? No, because if he does not know, maybe he should know. Maybe he should know what kind of mother he has. One who does not respect his decisions. One who does not trust his judgment. One who prefers to destroy his happiness rather than admit she is wrong. I am not going to let you destroy my son. I am not going to destroy anyone, Catherine. But you are. With your paranoia, with your need for control, with your inability to let go. She got closer. Her cheap perfume made me dizzy. I am going to give you a piece of advice. From woman to woman. Walk away. Let Michael be happy. Accept that Tamara is part of his life now. Because if you keep meddling, if you keep trying to separate them, you are going to lose your son forever. Is that a threat? It is a warning. She turned around and walked back to the hall, head held high as if she had just won a battle. And maybe she had, because I stood there trembling, feeling the world closing in around me. I returned to the table just as they were serving the 6th course. Steamed sea bass with organic vegetables. Michael looked at me. Where were you in the restroom? I lied. I could not tell him the truth. Not there, not at his wedding. Tamara shot me a look from her seat. A look that said, I am watching you. And I returned the look with all the strength I had left. I am watching you too, and I am not going to let you win. 7th course. Wedding cake. It was a 3-tier tower decorated with sugar flowers and gold fondant ribbons. Beautiful. Excessive. Like everything at that wedding. They brought the cake to the head table. Michael and Tamara stood up to cut it together. The guests surrounded them with cell phones, raised, recording, photographing. Kiss, kiss, they shouted. And they kissed. And everyone applauded, as if this were a romantic comedy, as if this were a happy ending. But I knew we were just at the beginning of something terrible. After the cake, the toasts began. Michael's best man spoke first. A funny story about when they met in college. Everyone laughed. Then a friend of Tamara spoke. A cheesy story about true love. Everyone sighed. And then Brenda stood up. Nobody had asked her to speak. But there she was, taking the microphone the DJ passed her. I want to say a few words, she announced with a loud voice. Everyone went silent. Today is a very special day, not only because my daughter is getting married, but because she is marrying an extraordinary man. She looked at Michael with a smile that seemed maternal, but was predatory. Michael, since we met you, we knew you were the right man. Hard-working, successful, generous. Everything a mother would want for her daughter. The words were nice, but the tone said, You are the perfect bank, the perfect business, the perfect gold mine. And I want to thank Catherine, too. She continued looking directly at me. For raising such a wonderful son, for teaching him values, for making him the man he is today. Everyone looked at me, applauded. I forced a smile. I know it has not been easy for you, Catherine, said Brenda with fake empathy. Letting go of a son is never easy, especially when you have been alone so long. But I want you to know something important. She paused dramatically. Tamara is not coming to take your son away. She is coming to love him, to take care of him, to build a future with him. And I hope you can accept it, that you can open your heart, because now we are family. Forever. The way she said forever was threatening, like a sentence, like a trap that had snapped shut. So let's raise our glasses, Brenda concluded, to Michael and Tamara, to love, to family. Cheers. Cheers. Everyone repeated, and they drank. And I stood there with my glass in my hand, feeling everything crumbling around me. After the toasts, the dancing began. Michael and Tamara opened the floor with a waltz. They looked perfect, like something out of a magazine. He looked at him with love. She smiled for the cameras. Afterwards, they danced with their parents. Michael danced with me first. Thanks, Mom, for everything, for being here, for supporting me. I am always going to be here for you, son. Always. I know you are the best mother in the world. I wanted to cry, but I held it in because I knew if I started crying, I was not going to be able to stop. Afterwards, I danced with some cousins, with family friends, with people I had not seen for years. Everyone asked me the same thing. Are you happy? Catherine, isn't the wedding beautiful? Isn't Tamara perfect for Michael? And I nodded, smiled, lied. Yes, I am happy. It is beautiful. She is perfect. Because that was what was expected of me. To be the accommodating mother, the grateful mother-in-law, the woman who does not make waves. But inside, I was dying. At 10 at night, my feet hurt, my head hurt, my heart hurt. I looked for Michael to say goodbye. Son, I am leaving. It has been a long day. Already, Mom. The party is just starting. I know, but I am tired. You enjoy. It is your night. He hugged me tight. I love you, Mom. Thanks for everything. I love you too, my life, more than you imagine. I went towards the exit, but before reaching the door, I heard voices. They came from the garden, loud voices arguing. I approached carefully and saw Ernest and Brenda behind some bushes arguing. Enough, said Ernest. I cannot take this anymore. He is our son-in-law, not a business. Oh, please, always so dramatic. This is for our own good, for Tamara's good. For Tamara's good or for your ambition. It is the same thing. She deserves to have a good life, and Michael can give it to her. This is wrong, Brenda. You know it. What is wrong is that you lost all our money in your businesses. What is wrong is that you left us in ruin. Now I am fixing your mistakes. Not this way. Not using our daughter. Our daughter is happy. She has a rich husband, a good life. What more do you want? I want us to have dignity. Brenda laughed, a bitter laugh. Dignity does not pay debts, Ernest. Money does. And then I saw him. I saw Ernest break, literally break. He covered his face with his hands and cried, like a man who has lost everything, including his soul. I do not want to be part of this, he whispered. It is too late. We are already inside. Now we just have to keep going. Brenda left him there and returned to the hall, and I stood paralyzed, hidden behind a column. I had just confirmed everything I suspected. This was not a marriage. It was a scam, and my son was the victim. I left the estate without anyone seeing me. I got into my car, locked the door, and allowed myself to cry. I cried for Michael, for his innocence, for the trap he had fallen into. I cried for Robert, for not having his wisdom to know what to do. I cried for me, for having to watch my son walk towards his destruction without being able to stop him. I drove home on autopilot. I do not remember only the weight in my chest, the knot in my throat. When I arrived, I took off the dress, took off my shoes, took off my makeup, and sat on my bed with Robert's ring between my fingers. Robert, I whispered in the dark. I do not know what to do. Help me. But this time the ring did not give me peace. It only reminded me of everything I had lost and everything I was about to lose. I could not sleep that night. I sat on my bed until 4 a.m. with the lights off, watching through the window as the city slept, while my mind would not stop spinning. Brenda's words echoed in my head like painful echoes. Dignity does not pay debts. Money does. And the image of Ernest crying. A broken man destroyed by his wife's decisions, accomplice by omission. But what tormented me the most was something else, something I had seen during the reception and had not realized until that moment when I was alone in the dark. Michael. The way Michael had looked at Tamara during the waltz, it was not the look of a man in love. It was the look of someone trying to convince himself he made the right decision. My son had doubts, and I had not been there to listen to him. The next day was Sunday. Normally, Michael would come for breakfast, but obviously he would not come. He was on his wedding night, probably in some elegant hotel before leaving for Napa Valley the next day. I made coffee. Toast that I did not eat. I sat in the garden under the oak tree and waited. I did not know exactly what I was waiting for, maybe a sign, maybe a miracle. At 11 a.m, my phone rang. It was an unknown number. Hello, Mrs. Catherine Reynolds. Yes. Who is speaking? My name is Robert Goodman. I am a lawyer. I represent Frank Ellison. Does that name mean anything to you? My heart skipped a beat. Frank Ellison. One of Tamara's ex-boyfriends mentioned in the investigator's report. Yes, I know him. I understand your son just married Tamara Solis. That is correct. Ma'am, I need to speak with you. It is urgent. Can we meet today? What is this about? I prefer to speak in person. It is delicate. Something in his voice told me I should listen to him. Where do you know the Tuscan Cafe downtown? Yes. Can you be there in an hour? I will be there. I arrived at the cafe 10 minutes early. It was a quiet place, elegant but discreet, perfect for private conversations. Mr. Goodman was already there, a man of about 50, gray suit glasses, leather briefcase. He stood up when he saw me. Mrs. Reynolds, thank you for coming. Tell me what is so urgent. We sat down. He took a folder out of his briefcase. My client, Frank Ellison, was engaged to Tamara Solis 3 years ago. The relationship lasted 8 months. He thought it was love. She thought it was a means. I know. I read the report. What report? I hired a private investigator. I know about the complaints. I know about her family. He nodded, relieved. Then you know this is not the first time. Tamara has a pattern. She looks for successful men. They fall in love, marry, or are about to. And then she and her family start bleeding them financially. What did she do to your client? She forged his signature on bank documents. She asked for loans in his name. When he discovered everything, she had already taken over $100,000. We filed a complaint, but the Solis family has very good lawyers. They managed to drag out the process. Frank got tired. He dropped the complaint in exchange for her returning part of the money and staying away from his life. And she did. She returned $20,000 of the $100,000 and disappeared for a year. Until now. He opened the folder and showed me documents. Copies of checks, fake contracts, emails. Frank contacted me yesterday. He saw wedding photos on social media and asked me to find you, to warn you. Warn me about what I already know, what she is. Mrs. Reynolds there is something else, something that is not in public reports. He leaned forward, lowered his voice. Tamara does not work alone. Her mother, Brenda, is the one who plans everything. She is a professional scammer. She has been doing this for decades. She has married her daughter to rich men since Tamara turned 23. My God. Tamara's first marriage was with a businessman from Texas. It lasted 6 months. When he discovered the fraud, she filed for divorce and kept a settlement of $50,000, legally. How is that possible? Because they got married without a prenuptial agreement. And Tamara has good lawyers who know how to manipulate the system. My stomach churned. My son got married without a prenup. I know. That is why I am here, to warn you to act fast. Because in 6 months a year, maximum Tamara is going to ask for a divorce, and she is going to take half of everything your son has built. And if he has nothing in his name, ma'am, your son is an architect. He has a firm. He has bank accounts. He has assets. Tamara is going to find a way to access all that. And when she does, it will be too late. What can I do? Talk to your son. Show him these documents. Convince him to file for annulment based on fraud. If he does it now in the first 3 months, he has a chance to win. I already tried talking to him. He does not listen to me. Then make him listen. Because if you do not, he is going to lose everything. Not just money, also his trust, his capacity to love, his future. I left the cafe with the folder in my hands, trembling, feeling how everything I suspected was confirmed in the worst way possible. This was not just a scam, it was a system, a business, a criminal operation disguised as love, and my son was the next victim. I got into my car. I dialed Michael's number. Voicemail. I dialed again. Voicemail. I sent him a message. Son, I need to see you. It is urgent. Please call me. I waited 5 minutes, 10, 20, nothing. I called the hotel where I knew he was staying, the Marriott downtown. Room of Michael Reynolds, please. One moment. I am sorry, ma'am. Mr. Reynolds left instructions not to put calls through. I am his mother. It is an emergency. I am sorry. I cannot make exceptions. I hung up, frustrated. Tamara was isolating him. She was already controlling his communication. She was already cutting ties with the outside world, including with me. I drove back home feeling how desperation turned into determination. If Michael did not want to listen to me, if he was blinded by love or manipulation, then I would have to wait for the right moment, the moment when he saw with his own eyes what I already knew, and that moment would come. Because people like Tamara and Brenda always make mistakes. They always get too confident. They always show their true face when they think they have already won. And when that moment came, I would be there, with the evidence, with the truth, with open arms to pick up the pieces of my son. 2 days passed. Michael and Tamara left for Napa Valley for their honeymoon. He sent me a message. Mom, we are already in Napa. Everything is beautiful. I will send photos later. Love you, I replied. Enjoy, son. Take care. I love you. But inside, I felt a huge void, because I knew that when he returned from that honeymoon, everything was going to be different. Tamara would no longer have to pretend so much. She would have already secured her place. And the real hell would just begin. The 3rd day after the wedding, Tuesday afternoon, I received an unexpected visit. Ernest Solis, Tamara's father, knocked on my door timidly, as if he did not want to be there. Mrs. Reynolds excused the intrusion. Can we talk? I looked at him with suspicion. About what, please? It is important. Something in his eyes, that shame, that pain, made me give in. Come in. We sat in the living room. I served him water. He did not touch it. I do not know how to start, he said with a broken voice. Start at the beginning. My wife Brenda is not a bad person, or she was not, but we lost everything 6 years ago. My business went bankrupt. We got into debt. And she changed how she became obsessed with recovering our standard of living with having money again. And she decided the fastest way was to use Tamari, use her own daughter. Yes, she trained her. She taught her how to approach men with money, how to make them fall in love, how to manipulate them, how to take everything she could and then leave. Tears ran down his face. I tried to stop her. I tried to protect Tamara, but Brenda threatened to divorce me, to leave me with nothing. And I am a coward. I stayed silent. Why are you telling me this now? Because Michael is a good man. I saw it in his eyes during the wedding. He is genuine, honest, and he does not deserve what is going to happen to him. What is going to happen to him? Brenda already has a plan. In 3 months, Tamara is going to get pregnant. She will use that pregnancy to ask for money to secure her position, and when she has taken enough, she is going to lose the baby accidentally and ask for a divorce. I was breathless. Fake pregnancy. Yes. She has done it before with the first husband. It works because men feel obligated to provide, to care, to give everything. This is monstrous. I know. That is why I am here to warn you, to give you time to protect your son. And you. What are you going to do? I am going to divorce Brenda. I already hired a lawyer. I already made my decision. I cannot continue being an accomplice to this. I prefer to be left with nothing than to continue selling my soul. I looked at him with respect for the first time. Thank you for coming. Take care of your son, Mrs. Reynolds, and if you can get Tamara away from him before it is too late. He left, and I stayed there with a new load of information, a new horror to process. That night, I did not eat. I did not sleep. I only thought about Michael, my boy, the good man I had raised the son, who was now trapped in a web of lies. And I made a decision. I was not going to wait for Tamara to show her true face. I was going to force the situation. I was going to make the truth come to light, regardless of the consequences, regardless if Michael hated me. Because sometimes protecting the one you love means being willing to lose them temporarily to save them permanently. And I was willing. Michael and Tamara returned from Napa a Saturday afternoon. He called me from the airport. Mom, we're back. Can we come over tomorrow for breakfast? We have photos and your gift. I would love that, son. Everything okay? You sound strange. Everything is fine. I just missed you. I missed you too. See you tomorrow. I hung up and took a deep breath, because I knew that Sunday was going to be the day everything would change. That night, I prepared everything. I took out the folder Mr. Goodman had given me, the full report from the private investigator, the documents Ernest had given me with Brenda's plans, written in emails which he had kept as evidence of his own guilt. Everything was there. The whole truth, black on white. I also made coffee, bought pastries, everything as usual, because I wanted Michael to feel at home. I wanted him to remember who he was before showing him what he had gotten into. They arrived at 10 in the morning. Michael brought a bag of bagels. Tamara wore Gucci sunglasses and a white linen dress that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage. Mom, Michael hugged me tight. My life. Good to have you here. Tamara gave me a kiss on the cheek. Cold, perfumed, fake. Mrs. Reynolds, good to see you. Likewise, dear. Come in. We sat in the dining room. I served coffee. Michael took out the bagels. Tamara ate nothing. I am on a diet, she explained, touching her flat stomach. Diet. But you are perfect, I said, unable to avoid the sarcastic tone. She smiled. One can never relax, Mrs. Reynolds. Men are always looking. The way she said men was revealing. As if Michael were replaceable. As if she were already thinking about the next one. Michael, oblivious to everything, showed me photos on his phone. Look, Mom, the vineyards, the tasting room. It was incredible. The photos were beautiful, but in every one, Tamara looked at the camera. Not at Michael, not at the landscape, at the camera, as if she were documenting her role of perfect wife for some future purpose. You look very happy, I said. We are, Michael replied, taking Tamara's hand. She smiled at him, but the smile did not reach her eyes. After half an hour of superficial conversation, I took a deep breath. Son, I need to talk to you, alone. Tamara tensed. Alone. Why now? We are a family. We should not have secrets. It is something personal. Between mother and son. Catherine. With all due respect, Michael is my husband. Whatever you have to tell him, you can tell me too. No, I cannot. Michael looked at me confused. Mom, what is wrong? Please, son, just 5 minutes. Tamara stood up abruptly. This is ridiculous. I knew you were going to do this. I knew you did not accept me. Tamara, it is not personal. Of course it is personal. From day one, you have been looking for flaws in me. I was never enough for your precious son, and now that we are married, you keep trying to separate us. That is not true. Yes, it is. You are a toxic, controlling mother-in-law. You cannot stand Michael having a life of his own. The words hurt me, but they did not stop me. Michael, I said, ignoring her. Please, I need you to see something. I went to my room, took out the folder, returned to the dining room. Tamara went pale when she saw the documents. What is that? The truth. I handed the folder to Michael. He opened it with trembling hands. Mom, what is this? It is a report about Tamara, about her family, about what they really are. Tamara lunged for the folder, trying to snatch it. You have no right. That is invasion of privacy. Michael stopped her. Wait, let me see. He started reading, and as he read, his face changed from confusion to surprise, from surprise to horror, from horror to betrayal. Michael Love, do not believe her. Tamara tried to take the folder again. That is all lies. Your mother is crazy. She hired detectives to spy on me. She is obsessive. But Michael kept reading. The fraud, complaints, the ex-boyfriends, the first marriage, Brenda's emails planning the fake pregnancy. Everything. Is this true? He asked with a broken voice. No, it is all fake. Fabricated. Tamara, look me in the eye and tell me this is fake. She looked at him and tried to lie. It is fake. Everything is fake. Then explain this to me. Michael took out a specific sheet. This email from your mother dated 2 weeks ago. It says, in 3 months announce the pregnancy. We wait another 3 and then ask for divorce with settlement. Michael is going to pay because he is naive. Silence. Tamara opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. That is taken out of context. What context can this have, Michael, please? Do you love me? He asked suddenly. What do you love me? It is a simple question. Tamara hesitated. Just a second. But it was enough. Of course I love you. Liar, I said. She looked at me with pure hate. Shut up. You do not know anything. I know everything. I know you married a businessman from Texas 4 years ago. I know you scammed him. I know your family is broke. I know you tried to use my identity to get a loan. I know this is not love. It is a business. Michael. Do not believe her. But Michael was no longer looking at her. He was looking at me. When did you know all this before the wedding? And you did not tell me I tried. You did not want to listen. He closed his eyes, took a deep breath. You are right. I did not want to listen. He stood up. Tamara, leave. What, leave my mother's house? Now. Michael, you cannot. Yes, I can. This is over. We are married. You cannot kick me out like this. Watch me. Tamara left my house in a fury, shouting threats, saying she was going to sue us both, that she was going to destroy us. When the door closed, Michael collapsed. He dropped onto the sofa, covered his face with his hands, and cried, like he had not cried since he was a child. I sat next to him. I hugged him. I am sorry, son. I am sorry I did not insist. More. I am sorry I let you make this mistake. It is not your fault, Mom. It is mine. I was an idiot. You were not an idiot. You were human. You trusted who you should not have. How did I not see it? How did I not see the signs because you were in love? Or in love with the idea of being in love? He looked up. What do I do now? Now you fight. You protect what is yours, and you divorce. But we are married, without a prenup. The lawyer told me she has the right to half of everything. Not if we prove fraud, not if we annul the marriage. I have contacts. I have proof. We are going to fight this together. He hugged me tight. Thanks, Mom, for not giving up, for saving me. I am always going to save you, son. Always. But the story did not end there. because the next day, Monday, I received a call from a cousin of Michael. "Catherine, did you see social media? No. Why Tamara posted something terrible." I opened Instagram, searched for Tamara's profile, and what I saw froze my blood. A long post, with wedding photos, with a devastating text. "With a broken heart, I inform you that my marriage with Michael Reynolds has ended. His mother, Catherine, never accepted me. She harassed me. She spied on me. She hired private investigators to investigate me. And finally, she achieved her goal, separating us. Michael is a wonderful man, but sadly, he did not have the courage to defend our love against his mother's lies. I ask for respect in this difficult moment. Toxic mother-in-law, true love, heartbroken, thousands of comments, most supporting her. How horrible mothers-in-law like that should be banned. Poor girl. Nobody deserves that. Michael is weak. He did not know how to defend his wife. My phone started ringing. Cousins, friends, acquaintances, everyone asking, everyone judging. And then I understood. Tamara did not just want money. She wanted revenge. She wanted to destroy our reputation. She wanted the world to see us as the villains of her story. But I was not going to let her win. I called Mr. Goodman. "I need you to publish everything. The complaints, the documents, the proof. Are you sure that could become a media circus?" "I am sure. The truth has to come to light." And it did. In less than 24 hours, digital media outlets were already reporting the full story. Designer accused of scam in multiple marriages. Solis family has history of bank fraud. Young wife used marriage as lucrative business. Social media changed opinion in seconds. The same people who defended Tamara now attacked her. She deleted her account, disappeared from the map. But the damage was already done. Her reputation destroyed, her plan ruined, her future uncertain, and us. We could finally breathe. The following days were chaos. Tamara hired a lawyer, not just any lawyer, but Jason Davis, known in the city as the Shark, an unscrupulous man who specialized in contentious divorces and bleeding his clients and his clients' victims dry. The lawsuit arrived 3 days after Michael kicked her out of my house. She did not ask for divorce. She asked for alimony, compensation for moral damages, indemnity for psychological violence, and half of all Michael's assets, including his architecture firm, Mr. Towers. Michael's lawyer reviewed the lawsuit and shook his head. "This is aggressive, very aggressive, but expected." "How much is she asking for?" Michael asked. $300,000, plus lifetime alimony of $5,000 a month. What we were married less than 2 weeks. I know. That is why this is not going to prosper, but it is going to be long. It is going to be expensive, and it is going to be public. How long, if all goes well? 6 months. If she drags out the process a year, maybe more. Michael slumped in the chair in the lawyer's office. "I cannot believe this is happening to me. Mr. Reynolds said Mr. Towers firmly, I have seen worse cases. Men who lost everything, companies, houses, savings. You have something they did not have." "What time?" "You acted fast. You got her out of your life before she could do more damage, and you have proof. That is more than most have. But the legal demands were just the beginning." Tamara launched a social media campaign painting herself as the victim. She posted stories crying, videos talking about psychological violence, tweets about toxic mothers-in-law destroying marriages. And it worked. She had thousands of followers, thousands of people who supported her without knowing the full story. She is a woman abandoned by a weak man and his controlling mother. They commented, "Poor girl. Nobody deserves to be treated like that." Others wrote. Michael read the comments and despaired. Why do people believe her? Why does nobody see the truth? Why is it easier to believe a victim than a scammer, I told him, because she tells a simple story, and people love simple stories. And what do? Nothing. Do not respond. Do not justify yourself. The truth is going to come out. It always does. But inside, I also doubted. Because Tamara was good. Very good. In her narrative, she was the betrayed princess, and we were the villains. A week after the lawsuit, Mr. Towers called with news. "We have a problem." "What kind of problem?" Michael asked. "Tamara filed a complaint with the district attorney against you and against your mother. Why? For defamation, for harassment, and for attempted procedural fraud. Procedural fraud. What is she talking about? She says the documents we presented are fake, that they were fabricated to damage her image, that you conspired to destroy her reputation. That is a lie. Everything is real, I know, but now we have to prove it. And that means more time, more money, more public exposure. Michael ran his hands through his hair. "This is a nightmare. It is a strategy," corrected the lawyer. "Tamara knows she cannot win legally, so she is trying to win publicly, to tire you out, to break you emotionally until you give up and give her what she asks. And what do you recommend? That you do not give up. Trust the process and prepare yourself, because this is going to get worse before getting better." And it got worse. Much worse. Michael's clients started canceling projects. "Sorry, Michael, but we do not want our name associated with controversies," they said. His professional reputation was being destroyed by a woman who had been in his life less than 2 months. His friends were divided. Some supported him. Others kept uncomfortable silence. And some, the worst ones, judged him. "There must be some truth in what she says." They murmured. "Nobody makes such a scandal for nothing." Even his best man, his best friend from college, called him to talk. "Michael, brother, are you sure your mom isn't going a bit too far? What I mean, hiring detectives. That is invasive, right, Robert? You too. I thought you knew me." "I know you. That is why I ask. Because it does not sound like you. It is not like me. It is like my mom protecting her son from a professional scammer. Read the evidence. It is there. Everything is documented. Yes, but nothing. Either you believe me or you do not believe me. You decide." He hung up. And that night he cried in my living room. "I am losing everything, Mom. My business, my friends, my reputation, all for a woman I met 8 months ago. You are not losing everything. You are losing the wrong people. The ones who really matter are still here. And if the wrong people are the majority, then the majority is wrong. It would not be the first time in history." But what hurt him most was something we did not expect. His cousin Javier, with whom he grew up, with whom he played as a child, posted on Facebook, "It is sad to see how misogyny is still alive. A man and his mother destroying a woman just because she did not let herself be controlled. Solidarity with Tamara Solis." Michael read the post and something in him broke. How can he think that? How can he believe I would be capable of? Because he does not know the full story. Because he has only seen what Tamara wants him to see. And why does he not ask me? Why does he assume? Because it is easier to judge than to investigate. It is more comfortable to be part of a mob than to think for oneself. Michael deleted Facebook that night, then Instagram, then Twitter. I cannot take it anymore. I cannot read another comment. I cannot see another accusation. It is okay, disconnect. That is the healthiest thing you can do. And if I lose the case, and if the judge believes her, you are not going to lose. Because the truth is on your side. And because I am going to fight until the end. 2 weeks later, Brenda Solis appeared on a television show, a morning talk show, one of those sensationalist ones that live off other people's drama. The host introduced her as the shattered mother of a young victim of psychological violence. Brenda cried on camera. "My daughter just wanted to be loved," she said with a broken voice. But that family destroyed her. They harassed her. They spied on her. They invented horrible things about her, and now my girl is traumatized. She cannot sleep. She cannot eat. She is in therapy. "And what about the fraud accusations?" asked the host. All lies, all invented by an obsessive mother-in-law who could not stand her son having a life of his own. Catherine Reynolds is a dangerous woman, and I hope justice punishes her. The audience's applause filled the studio. I watched the show in my house, and for the first time in weeks, I laughed. Because Brenda had just made a mistake. She had just shown her face publicly, and that meant now we could counterattack with everything. I called Mr. Towers. Did you see the show I saw it? Can we use it? Absolutely. She just publicly defamed both you and your son on national television, with witnesses recorded. That is legal gold, Mrs. Reynolds. What do? We sue for defamation, for moral damages, and for extortion. And this time, we are going to win. The countersuit was filed 3 days later, not only against Tamara, against Brenda Solis, against Ernest Solis, although he had already separated from the family and was cooperating with us, and against the lawyer Jason Davis for illegal practices. We attached everything: the private investigator's report, the testimonies of Frank Ellison and other ex-boyfriends, Brenda's emails planning the fraud, the recording of the conversation I heard at the wedding, the bank documents showing fraud attempts, and the jewel in the crown. A sworn statement from Ernest Solis confessing the entire family scheme and asking for legal protection in exchange for his testimony. The lawsuit leaked to the press and exploded. Solis family operated fraudulent marriage scheme for years. Mother of alleged victim planned extortion with fake pregnancy. Ex-husband exposes high society marriage scam network. The shows that had defended Tamara now apologized. The influencers who supported her deleted their posts, and Tamara disappeared. She deleted all her social media. She moved out of her house. Nobody knew where she was. But her lawyer kept fighting. Because for him, it was business. And as long as there was money involved, he would continue. The legal process lasted 6 months. 6 months of hearings, of depositions of experts, of witnesses. But in the end, we won. The judge declared the annulment of the marriage for fraud. Michael did not have to pay a single dollar. Tamara was sentenced to pay damages of $20,000. Brenda was sentenced for attempted fraud and extortion, 2 years in prison, and Jason Davis was suspended from legal practice for 6 months for unethical conduct. Justice. Finally, justice. When we left the courthouse that last day, Michael hugged me in the middle of the street. "It is over, Mom. It is finally over." "Yes, son, it is over. Thank you for not giving up, for fighting when I could not, for saving me. You are my son. It is what mothers do." We stood there hugging while the city kept moving around us, and for the first time in months, I felt peace. Not happiness, not complete relief, but peace. The peace of knowing we did the right thing, that we fought the battle, we had to fight, and we won. After the sentence, life should have returned to normal, but it did not because legal battles are won in courtrooms. Emotional battles are fought much longer. Michael returned to his firm. He tried to resume projects, call clients, rebuild his professional reputation, but something in him had changed. He was no longer the confident man I knew. He no longer looked at people the same way. "How am I going to trust anyone again, Mom?" He asked me one afternoon, sitting in my garden, looking at the oak tree as if the answers were hidden in its branches. With time, with patience, and knowing that not all people are like Tamara. But how do I know she seemed perfect? Said all the right things, did everything right, and it was all a lie. Because now you know what to look for. Now you recognize the signs. And if I am wrong again, then you are wrong. But this time, you will be more careful. You will ask more questions. You will trust your intuition. And if my intuition is broken, I looked at him with tenderness. Your intuition is not broken, son. It was just silenced by something stronger. What thing? Loneliness, the desire to be loved, the hope of building something with someone. Those things are powerful, and sometimes they blind us. He nodded slowly. How did you know with Dad? How did you know he was the one I smiled remembering? Because he saw me. He really saw me. Not what I had not, what I could give him, but who I was. And he loved me for that, for the person I was not, for what I represented. Do you think I will ever find someone like that? Yes, when you are ready, when you have healed, when you can trust again, not in others, but in yourself. Months passed. Michael started therapy, something he never thought he would need. At first I felt weak, he confessed, as if going to therapy meant I was broken. But my therapist told me something that helped me. What did he tell you? That going to therapy is not a sign of weakness, it is a sign of courage, because it takes courage to face your wounds instead of hiding them. You are right. He also told me that what happened to me was not my fault. It was not. But I feel guilty anyway. For not having seen the signs, for having ignored your warnings, for having yelled at you when you were only trying to protect me. Son, I already forgave you. Now you have to forgive yourself. He looked at me with glassy eyes. I do not know if I can. You will be able to. Day by day, little by little, until one day you wake up and realize it does not weigh so much anymore. 4 months after the sentence, Michael received an email. It was from a woman named Patricia Ross. Dear Michael, you do not know me, but I read about your case in the news. I was also a victim of marriage fraud. My ex-husband and his family scammed me for over $500,000. It took me 3 years to recover, but I made it. And I want you to know that you will make it too. If you ever need to talk to someone who understands what you went through, I am here. With solidarity, Patricia. Michael showed me the email with tears in his eyes. I am not alone. You were never alone, son. I know. But knowing there are other people who went through this and survived gives me hope. He replied to the email, and they started writing to each other. Patricia became a friend, someone who understood his pain without judging him, someone who had walked the same dark path and had come out the other side, and slowly Michael began to heal. I also had my own healing process, because this battle was not only Michael's, it was mine too. I had to face my own fears, my own guilt. Should I have insisted more before the wedding? Should I have shown him the proof, even if he did not want to see it? Should I have made a scene in the church shouting the truth in front of everyone? Those questions tormented me at night. Until one afternoon, talking to Eleanor at the book club, she told me something that changed my perspective. Catherine, you did the best you could with the information you had at the moment you had it. You cannot judge yourself with the wisdom you have now. That is not fair. But could I have avoided so much pain? No, you could not, because Michael is an adult and he had to make his own decisions. Your job was not to prevent him from making mistakes. Your job was to be there when he fell. And you did that. You were there. You picked him up. You protected him. That is what matters. Her words released me from a weight I had been carrying for months. Thanks, Eleanor. Why? For reminding me that I do not have to be perfect, I just have to be present. One day, 6 months after the sentence, Michael came to my house with a different expression. Not sad, not broken, serene. Mom, I made a decision. What decision? I am going to sell my apartment, the place where I lived with her, where we planned a future that never existed. I need to start over, in a place that is only mine. That sounds good, son. And I also decided something else. What I am going to change the name of my firm. It is no longer going to be Reynolds Architects. It is going to be Reynolds and Associates, because I want to build something bigger, something that does not depend only on me, something that can grow and help others. That sounds beautiful, and I want you to be part of that. Me, son, I know nothing about architecture. I do not need you to know about architecture. I need you to be my HR consultant, to help me hire people, to read people, to see what I do not see. I laughed. You want me to be your professional lie detector. Exactly. We hugged. And in that hug, I felt something I had not felt in a long time. Hope. Not the naive hope that everything was going to be perfect, but the mature hope that despite the pain we can rebuild, we can heal, we can be better. One afternoon cleaning my closet, I found something I had forgotten. The navy blue dress I wore to the wedding. I took it out. I looked at it, and I felt nothing. No rage, no sadness, no regret, only peace. Because that dress represented a day that changed our lives. But it did not destroy us. It strengthened us. I decided to donate it because I no longer needed to keep it. I no longer needed to hold on to that memory. It was time to let go. One Sunday morning, Michael came to my house, like before, with donuts from the bakery. We sat in the garden under the oak tree. I made fresh coffee. And for 2 hours, we did not talk about Tamara. We did not talk about the trial. We did not talk about the past. We just talked about life, about the present, about the future, about his new projects, about my painting classes, about the neighbor who finally fixed his car, about the lady on the corner who adopted 2 more cats. Simple things, everyday things, the things that really matter. And in that moment, I realized something. We had returned, not to the same place where we were before, but to a new place, stronger, wiser, a place where we knew that true love is not blind, it is conscious, it is careful, it is brave. Months later, I received a letter. It had no sender, only my name handwritten on the envelope. I opened it with curiosity. It was from Ernest Solis. Dear Catherine, I do not expect you to forgive me. I do not deserve your forgiveness, but I want you to know something. You did the right thing. You protected your son when I did not have the courage to protect mine. I divorced Brenda. I am rebuilding my life far from her, and every day I carry the shame of what I allowed. But I also carry gratitude, because you showed me that it is never too late to do the right thing. Thank you for your courage. Thank you for reminding me what it means to have dignity. With respect, Ernest. I folded the letter slowly, and for the first time I felt compassion for that man, because he was also a victim of his wife, of his own weaknesses, of a system that broke him, and he had the courage, although late, to walk away to start over to seek redemption. One night, right before sleeping, I took Robert's ring between my fingers, like I had done so many times during these difficult months. We did it love. I whispered in the dark. We protected our son. We taught him to be strong, to fight for what is right, not to give up. The ring shone under the lamplight, and for the first time since his death, I did not feel only his absence. I felt his presence, his guidance, his wisdom, his love that never left. Thank you for choosing me as the mother of your son, I said with a broken voice. I did the best I could. I hope you are proud. And in the silence of my room, I felt something I cannot explain with words. A deep peace, a quiet certainty, a soundless voice that said, I was always proud. I always will be. Life has a strange way of collecting its debts, not always in the way we expect, not always when we want, but always. 6 months after the sentence, I started hearing rumors, whispers, stories that arrived through acquaintances, friends, people who knew people. The first story came through Eleanor, Catherine. Did you hear about Brenda Solis? We were at the book club, although none had opened their book yet. Know what happened? She is in the state penitentiary serving her sentence, and apparently she is not having a good time. How do you know that my cousin works in social services? She says Brenda is completely alone. Nobody visits her, not her daughter, not her ex-husband, not even her younger son. Nobody. She is completely isolated, and the worst is that the other inmates know who she is. They read the news and they do not treat her well. I did not feel satisfaction hearing that, only a deep sadness, because Brenda had built her own prison long before entering a real one. A prison of lies, of greed, of ambition, without limits, and now she was paying the price. And Tamara? I asked. Of her I do have direct news, said Eleanor, lowering her voice. My niece saw her a few weeks ago in a mall working. working as what? In a clothing store as a sales associate with a uniform and everything. The image impacted me. Tamara, who only bought designer clothes, who made fun of people who worked in stores, who believed she was above having a common job. Now she was exactly that common. Did your niece tell you anything else? Yes, that she looks destroyed without makeup, with badly arranged hair, much thinner, as if she were sick, and that when she recognized her, Tamara lowered her gaze and hid behind a rack. Poor woman, I said, and I meant it seriously. Poor Catherine. She tried to destroy your son. I know, but seeing her fall so low does not give me joy, only sadness. You are a better person than me. It is not goodness, Eleanor. It is understanding. Tamara was not born like that. Brenda turned her into that, trained or used her, and now she is paying for her mother's sins as much as for her own. 2 months later, I received other news this time from an unexpected source. Patricia Ross, the woman who had written to Michael months ago. She and Michael had become friends. They spoke regularly about their experiences, about healing, about rebuilding. One day, Patricia came to my house for coffee. Catherine, I have to tell you something about Tamara. What thing I saw her in my support group for fraud victims. What yes. There is a group that meets every Wednesday downtown for people who have been scammers and want to change. Tamara is there. Is she attending voluntarily? At first I thought it was for the sentence, community service or something like that. But no, she goes by her own decision. And she speaks, she tells her story. What does she say? Patricia took a sip of coffee before continuing. She says that for years she believed what she was doing was right, that she was smart, that rich men deserved to be used because they used women. Those were her exact words. Typical justification. Yes, but then she said something that surprised me. She said that when she lost the trial against Michael, when everyone walked away from her, when she was left completely alone, she had to face herself for the first time in her life. And what did she find? Emptiness. She said she realized she did not know who she was, that her whole life had been a performance, that she had never really loved anyone, and that nobody had loved her. They had only loved what she pretended to be. The words gave me chills because that was Tamara's true tragedy. Not that she had lost money, not that she had lost her reputation, but that she had lost something much deeper, her humanity. Do you think she is changing? I asked. Patricia shrugged. I do not know. Real change takes years, decades, a lifetime, but at least she is trying. That is more than many do. Did you tell her you know Michael? No. It did not seem right to me. That is something between them. If one day they have to talk, it will be when both are ready, not before. 3 months after that conversation, Michael received a package by mail. It had no sender, only his name and address. He opened it carefully. Inside was a handwritten letter and something wrapped in tissue paper. The letter said, "Michael, I do not expect you to read this. I do not expect you to forgive me. I do not expect anything. I just need to say these words, even if it is only once. I regret everything, every lie, every manipulation, every moment I saw you as a means instead of as a person. You were right. Your mother was right. I was exactly what she thought I was. But I want you to know something. At some point during those months with you, there was a real moment, just one. It was when we danced in your apartment that rainy afternoon and you sang me that song. For a second, I felt something genuine. I do not know if it was love. Probably not, but it was something real. And that moment haunts me now because it showed me what I could have had if I had been able to be honest. I return this to you, not because I want to clear my conscience. That is impossible, but because it is yours, and I no longer have the right to keep it. Be happy. Truly, Tamara. Michael unwrapped the tissue paper. It was the engagement ring he had given her, a diamond solitaire that had cost 3 months of his salary. He showed me the letter and the ring with glassy eyes. I do not know what to feel, Mom. What do you feel? Nothing and everything. Rage, sadness, pity. I do not know. Do you want to answer her? No. There is nothing to say. That chapter is closed, and the ring, I am going to sell it, and I am going to donate the money to a shelter for victims of violence, or to an organization that helps people get out of abusive relationships. That is beautiful, son. It is the right thing. I want nothing that comes from that relationship, but I want something good to come out of all this, even if indirectly. I hugged him, and in that moment I knew my son had healed completely. Because true forgiveness is not saying it is okay what you did to me. It is saying what you did to me was wrong, but I am not going to carry that weight anymore. 1 year after the trial, I was at the farmer's market buying flowers when I heard a voice behind me. Mrs. Reynolds? I turned around. It was Ernest Solis. But not the Ernest I had known, not the broken, ashamed, defeated man. This Ernest had a straight-back, clear eyes, a recovered dignity. Ernest. What a surprise. Sorry for approaching you like this. I know maybe you do not want to talk to me, but I saw you and needed to greet you. It does not bother me. How are you? Good. Better than I have been in years. I divorced Brenda, as I told you in the letter. I got a job. Nothing fancy. I am an accountant in a small company, but it is honest, it is dignified. I am glad. And I am also in therapy, trying to understand how I allowed things to get that far, how I became an accomplice to something so terrible. The fact that you are in therapy already says a lot, Ernest. How is Michael good? He is good, rebuilding his life, healing. I am glad, truly. He is a good man, better than my family deserved. And Tamara Ernest looked down. We have not spoken in months. I tried. I called her. I wrote to her. But she does not want to know about me. She says I betrayed her by testifying against her mother. Betrayed her. You did the right thing. I know, but for her family, loyalty is above everything. Even the truth. It is what Brenda taught her. Maybe one day she will understand. Maybe, or maybe not. Either way, I can no longer save her. I can only save myself. And that is what I am trying to do. He shook my hand. Thank you, Mrs. Reynolds, for your courage, for showing me that one can say no, that one can choose the truth, even if it hurts. Thank you, Ernest, for having the courage to change. He left, and I stood there with my bouquet of flowers thinking about the strange paths life takes, how some people get lost and others find themselves. 2 years after the trial, Eleanor told me the latest news about Brenda. She got out of prison. She served her full sentence. With good behavior, they would have reduced her time, but apparently she had many problems inside. And where is she now? In a state nursing home. My cousin, who works in social services, saw her. She says she is unrecognizable, hair completely white, gray skin, hunched over. She looks 80, although she is 62, and her family, nobody. Ernest already rebuilt his life. Tamara abandoned her completely. Her younger son moved out of state and changed his last name. She is completely alone. It is sad. Sad, Catherine, that woman tried to destroy your son. I know, but thinking about someone dying alone in a government nursing home, abandoned by everyone, is sad, no matter what she has done. That is one of the worst ways to end a life. Eleanor looked at me with admiration. You have a bigger heart than mine. It is not my heart, Eleanor. It is the lesson life taught me, that karma is not revenge, it is consequence. Brenda is not paying because I want her to pay. She is paying because life collects. It always collects. One night, 3 years after everything, Michael came to dinner. He brought someone, a woman named Andrea, an architect like him, 32 years old, genuine smile, honest look. He had met her at a professional conference. They had talked for hours about design, about life, about values. They had been dating for 6 months, slowly, carefully, without rushing. Mom, I want you to meet Andrea. It is an honor, Mrs. Reynolds. Michael has told me so much about you. I hope good things. Only good things. He told me you are the bravest woman he knows. We ate in the garden under the oak tree, and throughout the dinner I observed the way Andrea looked at Michael, with respect, with genuine affection, with real interest in what he said, the way Michael looked at her, with calm, with confidence, without desperation, without need, the way they spoke to each other, like equals, like partners, like friends who were becoming something more, and I knew this one was different. This one was real. After dinner, when Andrea went to the restroom, Michael asked me, "What do you think? I think she is wonderful. Really, really. You can tell she is genuine, that she sees you, not what you have, but who you are. You were right, Mom, about waiting, about healing first, about not rushing. If I had met Andrea 3 years ago, I would not have been ready for her. And now you are. Yes. Because I already know who I am. I already know what I want. And I already know what signs to look for." I hugged him. "I am proud of you, son. Very proud. I am also proud of me. And of you. For teaching me that falling is not the end. Getting up is." That night after they left, I stayed in the garden with a cup of tea under the stars, thinking about the road traveled, about Tamara, who had fallen so low and maybe was trying to get up, about Brenda, who had built her own destruction, about Ernest, who had found the courage to change, about Michael, who had survived the worst mistake of his life and had come out stronger, and about me, the woman who had to choose between peace and truth, and who had chosen the truth even if it hurt, even if it cost, even if it meant facing her son's rage. Because in the end, life always collects its debts, but also pays its rewards. And mine was simple. My son was free. He was happy. He was himself. And that was worth every tear, every sleepless night, every moment of doubt. Because protecting who you love does not always mean preventing them from falling. Sometimes it means being there to pick them up and teach them to walk again, stronger than before. Today marks 5 years since that wedding, 5 years since the day that changed our lives forever. Michael married Andrea 6 months ago, a small, intimate ceremony only with the people who really mattered. Without ostentation, without masks, only true love. They are expecting their first child, my first grandchild. Life has curious ways of closing circles. This morning, while I was making fresh coffee, as I have always done, an envelope arrived at my house. It was from Tamara. I had not seen her or heard from her in 3 years. I opened the letter with trembling hands. "Mrs. Reynolds, I do not seek forgiveness. I just want you to know something. You saved your son. And by saving him in some strange way, you also saved me. Because losing everything forced me to look in the mirror for the first time. I have been in therapy for 2 years. I work honestly. I am paying my debts. I am not the same person. I never will be. But I am trying to be someone I do not have to be ashamed of. Thank you for your courage. Thank you for teaching me that the truth, although it hurts, is always better than the lie. Be well, Tamara." I folded the letter slowly. And for the first time in 5 years, I felt something resembling forgiveness towards her. Not because what she did was right, but because recognizing our mistakes and trying to change is the bravest thing we can do. That afternoon, Michael came to visit me with Andrea. We sat in the garden under the oak tree that Robert planted more than 30 years ago. Michael told me about his plans for the baby, the room they are preparing, the names they are considering. Andrea showed me the first ultrasounds, and I listened to them with a full heart, because this was what I had always dreamed for my son. Not wealth, not success, not perfection, but peace, true love, a family built on honest foundations. When they left, I stayed in the garden with my cup of coffee. I took Robert's ring between my fingers, as I always do when I need to feel his presence. "We made it love," I whispered. "Our son is happy. Truly not happy pretending, but happy being himself. The wind blew softly, moving the leaves of the oak tree, and I felt something I cannot explain with words, a deep certainty that everything had been worth it. Every tear, every battle, every moment of doubt. Because in the end, the only thing that matters is protecting those we love, not from making mistakes. That is impossible, but from losing themselves in their mistakes. If I could speak to all the mothers in the world, I would tell them this trust, your intuition, that instinct that tells you when something is not right, that internal whisper that nobody else hears. It is not paranoia. It is not control. It is not selfishness. It is love in its purest, most protective, bravest form. And if you ever have to choose between peace and truth, choose the truth, even if it hurts, even if they hate you temporarily, even if the whole world judges you. Because peace built on lies never lasts. But the truth, although it destroys, always rebuilds something better. Today, while the sun sets behind the mountains and the city prepares to sleep, I feel grateful not because everything has been perfect, but because despite everything we are here. My son is happy, he is healthy, he is becoming a father, and I can close my eyes in peace, knowing I fulfilled my mission. Being a mother is not just giving life, it is protecting it, guiding it, and when necessary, fighting for it, even if that means becoming the villain of someone else's story. Because in the end, the only thing that matters is that our children know one thing, that they will never, never be alone, that there will always be someone willing to fight for them, someone who will love them unconditionally, someone who will choose the truth over comfort, always. If my story helps a single woman open her eyes, trust her instinct, fight for who she loves, every tear, every battle, every moment will have been worth it. Because that is what we mothers do. We protect, we love, and we never, never give up. Thank you for listening to me until the end. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone you love. Sometimes a story like this can change a whole day. God bless you, and until next time.